Welcome back to the Cyber Executive. And today I'm so lucky to have such a great person here on today, Casey Marquette, to talk about what a lot of people are going through right now, and that's that job market that's out there and what's going on and where things are happening. But before we get started here, Casey, I just want to remind everyone to like and follow or subscribe to the Cyber Executive podcast. Share it with your friends because we all have that one guy that still thinks password 123 is mind security, and we want to make sure that that gets changed. All right. So, Casey, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Mark, thank you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, so we've had some great discussions a few weeks back, and when you were in town and everything, and we were talking about the job market. So, kind of, what are you seeing? You have a leading HR recruiting organization. So, what are you seeing out there? Because I know from my side, it's crazy, and the way the companies are reacting and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, Mark, that we're starting to see is people using AI to create the perfect resume. So we have our own proprietary technology that we sell to companies that helps process talent. But what we're seeing is more and more people with a great resume. And then, what I tell candidates is because of that, if you're applying for a job, I say 99% sure you will not get that job unless you have a tailored resume specific for that job. Simply because some people are dishonest. Now, what's nice about the platform we created is we have an avatar that interviews the people literally 5 minutes after they applied, and then we pressure test them using that avatar technically. So that's kind of how we get through. Okay, if 500 people apply and they all look great on paper, how does an organization actually then decide out of those 500, who do we talk to? That's how we've done it. For everybody out there, I think we all know it. It's a broken system right now. Most companies don't have a technology like we're using. And so even though there's more opportunity jobs than ever, people are waiting longer and longer to be hired because of all the noise with resumes.
Mhm. Yeah, I know I've obviously over the past several months of applied to a lot of positions and everything, and in some of them it's just even without tailoring, you look at my resume versus the job description, and they seem to be a perfect match, but they're using Workday or something like that, which is running AI behind there off of there, and you still get the kick out in the middle of the night, after applying. So if you're tailoring towards every job that you're applying for, I mean, you don't want it to basically be a mimic of the job description. So, what advice do you have for people off of that? I mean, it gets frustrating whenever you're applying. You're a great match for this. You got industry experience and that sort of stuff, but then you're getting kicked out by something that's no one's ever even looked at. So there's got to be good quality candidates, I guess is my point, that is being missed because of this technology.
Well, there is for sure. I mean, I would just say, leverage. So we've got a product called MyScout, and I'm not here to sell MyScout, but it's true. The reason I built it is I saw this coming, and we've been at it for over a year. We created Scout, which is what we sell to clients to evaluate candidates. But then I thought, how do I help, for that client to evaluate candidates? But then I thought, how do we help candidates? One of the struggles I have is I love helping people, and I probably, and I'm not exaggerating, get 200 messages a week. Hey, will you talk to Bob? He's looking for a job. Will you? And what I had to stop because I was doing so many of those. That doesn't make me money. And to stay in
Mhm.
business, I've got to get jobs from clients. So I talked to the team and said, let's build something to help candidates. All this learning that we've done as a business, build it into this tool. So what I mean, using a tool like MyScout, a lot of, and I did this when I was in corporate America, you forget half the things you've done in your career,
Mhm.
right? What a good tool will do is say, here's the job description, here's your resume. Using AI, we reverse engineered Scout. What is missing? And you'd be surprised when you look at that. We want people obviously to do it ethically, but it's going to present what's missing. You can click a button and it will add it. But a lot of times people actually have things that they're missing and they don't understand the way that AI scores. So
Mhm.
this just allows them to quickly tailor the resume to the job description. And I'm telling you, there is no way I would apply to a job using a generic resume. I can almost guarantee you, you're not going to make it. And another key thing we've built, whether it's My Scout or what other platform, is a networking component where it pulls LinkedIn profiles for that company, people that would make sense to reach out to, email addresses, and also a CRM for jobs. So you could be very organized. I've applied to 10 jobs, I have 3 interviews, and be able to track that whole process.
Mhm.
And then also the ability to present yourself in a very likable manner. It allows you to create a presentation that is tailored for that job. And I'll tell you why that's important. When we post a job, any one of my account managers, they probably get 200 messages on LinkedIn, and it sounds just like this. Hi, my name's Mark. I applied for your job. I'm a great fit for your job because I said I'm a great fit. And everybody says that. They all think
Yep.
they're qualified for every job. And I'm not saying they're not. What I'm saying in the real world, guess what? Do you think we read all 200? It's
No.
impossible. And it's impossible. If I saw something with I always say without data, you're just a person with another opinion. If I saw a presentation that shows, here's how I score against each of your requirements, that would stand out to me. I'm not saying it's a silver bullet, but just like in my business, I have to, how can I be different and sell my business? As a
Mhm.
candidate, you have to do the same thing. You can't do what everybody else does. You have to find ways to be different.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree because LinkedIn, obviously, I think everyone's using to, from a job board side of things, and you'll see a new post, and within hours, it'll show 100 plus that's already applied for it. And I know there's, positions out there that they're just getting overwhelmed with the sheer volume because so many people are either out of job or is looking or wanting to improve on what they're doing, those sort of things. So, definitely, I understand from that hiring manager side or the HR side of the sheer volume that they're getting because I mean if you're looking at the stats just on our side, you see it. So and if you're not, then maybe you should be looking at those stats, and getting those either do something to get those alerts quicker to where you're in there earlier on in that process to where there's a chance where you might actually get viewed versus, being 3, 4, or 500 in the queue there. So,
Yes, great point.
yeah. And then I know also, you talked about the efficacy of, the resumes. I mean, I just know from being a hiring manager for many years, the amount of, embellishment people do on their resumes. If they touched the software one time or thought about it, they have it on there, that they've used it. And you ask them a question and then they don't know anything about it. So, there's that fine line of, okay, yeah, you actually used it. So, have that on there if it's a technical resume versus, and versus, putting it on there and just because you used it one time or you did a demo of it. So,
Mark, you touched on something which is a reason we built Scout, the one for our clients, right?
mhm,
That we use. I say this all the time because it's true. Most organizations, you have a recruiter that is recruiting for sales, warehouse, cybersecurity, IT. It's not their fault, but they can't possibly understand all of those areas at a deep technical level. I mean, it's just impossible. They're one person, right? So what you just alluded to was happening to us as well, right? You would have, let's just say, a IAM manager. That manager understood IAM better than any one of our recruiters, even though they're certified in cybersecurity. That's what they do.
mhm,
That's a specialty within cybersecurity, right? So the reason we created Scout was Scout knows more about any job than any human recruiter in the world. So that's a big problem. And it happens all the time where somebody looks great on paper. And then us as a staffing agency interviews them, but we don't understand the technical aspects like the hiring leader. And then you send it to the hiring leader. And what we were hearing over and over is they sound like they know it on paper, but when I talk to them about it, they don't. So you are spot on. But the bigger question is, how are organizations, what are they doing to reduce that?
Right. Yeah, and, and I know, people's using ADP. We mentioned Workday. There's was it ICMS or something like.
License.
Yeah,
Yep.
so if once you start doing, 10, 12, 15 different, applications, you kinda seen the same system, you go, "Ah, I know how this is gonna go through," you know?
Yes.
So, but, it's kinda that same process, and, they're using those systems to try to, help filter them out and to be more efficient off of there, but, I guess kind of, you talked about Scout, but, for those that aren't in that platform and, they're going the regular route of applying, putting their resume in there, what should people be doing with that? I mean, I know you should be looking at the job description and you should making sure that, if you have those qualifications, you highlight that in there. But is there anything else, any other ways to try to get noticed when you're submitting that resume? Are cover letters still valid? Or, those sort of things?
Yeah, no, it's definitely like I said, if I would use a tool to do it because otherwise you're going to spend. I mean, it kind of is a spray and pray, right? Almost like a
Right.
cyber attack, right? Like, so you want to get it out there, but you want it tailored. And like I said, something that is able to take what they're looking for and in a measurable, tangible way,
Hmm.
show that you have it. Not just you saying or in text, because that's what they all see over and over and over. So you really have to do that. And the other thing I'd really emphasize, whether you're looking for a job or not, what I've found is most candidates, they work their network when they need something.
Hmm.
People see right through that. If Mark, I haven't talked to you in 10 years and you go, Casey, I need help finding a job. Sure, I'm going to help you. But if it was somebody that, the law of reciprocity helped me before, I've helped them. Guess what? Those people are going to be top of my list. The people that have provided value to me. And that's how he built his business, honestly. And I alluded to it before. I was helping so many people. And then the law of reciprocity, some of those people then helped me later down the road. So you have to find a way, especially when you have a job. What is that network? How do you create a system to reach out to them, provide value to them on some recurring basis? So
Hmm.
when you actually need something, it's not, hey, just give me something all the time, but I've already provided value to you. It's work, but guess what? 90% of the people don't do it. If you do it, you're going to stand out to those people.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a good point. And I know it gets overwhelming on the networking side. Especially if you're a management position of any type, because you got 10 salespeople contacting you every day to do that, and or to get just 15 minutes of your time, which is 30 to 45 minutes, and your day is pretty much taken up, and so you do have to balance that, but yet it's still important to build those networks and communicate. And even if you're not necessarily directly with them, but providing information out through the network in general, just to where they can take that as feedback, and it's something, because you can't, you get 10,000 followers, you can't talk to 10,000 followers all or connections all the time, right? But
But
you
Mark,
can
it's
pick and
really with
choose.
technology now. Sorry to interrupt. I just get so
Yeah, no.
it's so easy. I use an agent called Lindy, right?
Hmm.
Lindy joins all my calls.
Hmm.
I could say, Lindy, this next call is someone I want to network with. Go online, read all about them, scroll the internet every day. And when there's an article relevant to them, send it to me in an email that I can copy and send to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it is easy now, but
Yeah.
you still have to do a little work.
Right.
And so,
Right.
literally, with my network, I would absolutely do that. Here's everybody that I want to stay in touch with, provide value to,
Hmm.
do the research AI on their background, their hobbies, anything. Mark, if Lindy comes back and says Mark likes to run marathons, right? and he lives here.
That's false information to sort of, well, that's too many miles, man. I'm not doing that.
But it's easy to do that and then even have the agent create a spreadsheet and then boom, every day in your email, here's an article that makes sense for someone in my network. Here's it's already drafted the email, obviously just like AI anything. You got to read it, make sure it makes sense and but there is no reason why anyone can't do that
Right.
other than they're too lazy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, especially now and then over the last couple of years with the different AI agents to be able to bring that in and then, you know, to select and choose or however you want to do it to make it more efficient or creating a newsletter or whatever it may be just to help, communicate and provide value. So there's definitely a way.
That's
So,
right.
and, and for me, this is one way I provide that value to others to get insights, to people and to where they can hear my thoughts, they can hear other people's thoughts. And, and so, so all the important for people to share this, right? So,
Exactly. Yes.
so, um, let's take it to the point now of okay, you finally got in the door, you're having your interview. Probably the first round is going to be with someone, the recruiter, the HR person, and that sort of things before it goes to maybe someone in the department, or maybe if you look out, maybe the hiring manager. Kind of what some tips that you have from an interviewing standpoint, Casey, for those people once they hit those next rounds.
Yeah, no, for sure. So one of the things I used to do early in my career is I would literally sit with my sister and do a mock interview, and do it over and over and over and actually record that. So one of the things I would say, and I hate to keep going back to my scout, but honestly, it's from talking to literally hundreds of thousands of candidates over 4 years and deciding how can we help them. You should absolutely practice the interview. So my Scout knows 70 different languages, and I will tell you, Scout is brutal on the feedback. So you can, and it's good Scout because the way the system's set up, it's going to interview you based on the job description, and you're going to get a score 0 to 100. Let's say you get a 22. Next time you'll get a 50 until you're comfortable with the real interview. Whether it's Scout, I would whether it's your brother, whoever, practice the interview. The other thing is, I will tell you a million times, in my seat, we have clients that trust us to place talent. If I have an interview or one of my recruiters has an interview with you and it's 3 o'clock, it starts. And I used to recruit for our executive roles, like CISOs and stuff. At 3:02, I'm dropping off of that call,
Hmm.
and you're never going to get me back because you've already I call it say-do ratio. If you accepted a meeting at 3, that means you're gonna be there at 3. If you can't even be on time for that, I've
Right.
already written you off. You have no idea how many people have said, "It's 3:05," and they text me, "Hey, I'm on the call, where are you?" I'll say, "I dropped at 3:02, and sorry, because you were late."
Hmm.
Unless they say I was in a car crash, what prevented you from letting me know you were gonna be late?
Hmm.
So, right there, I've already written you off, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. The other thing is just dress decent, right? Eye level. I mean, we get all kinds of people in tank tops, looking down, looking way up. Like, I mean, we see some we could put a video together on some comical things. So, and then one of the biggest things I probably see with cyber is lack of being concise.
Hmm.
Like they will talk, like, a question and then talk forever, which even Scout calls out. But we hear that from clients quite a bit as well, like, they were way too verbose, and they couldn't package it. I always say Mark Twain has a quote, "Sorry for the long letter, I didn't have time to write a short one." It's harder to be concise and cover the point than,
Yeah.
throw up all over the page.
Yeah. I know one thing that I've caught myself and has been asked on in interviews is I say we. And, as a manager, when the team is doing things, it's easy to say we because, you're providing that leadership to it and they're doing the work. And, yeah, you've done the strategic part, you've done the planning and you're doing all that part, but they're doing the work. So it's hard to, for me at least, to say I off of that. And I have to watch myself off to do that, to say, well, I did this, this, and this, and guided the team to do this, and those sort of things. Uh, and so, that's, I think, a challenge that and something to keep in mind whenever you're interviewing is that saying that I part versus the we part. And, it's the time to take credit for yourself. And, even though you're trying to be modest and show as a leader that, you're guiding off of there. But, it's something that I know I struggle with because, I count myself as a servant leader. I'm there to support my team. But yet here I am, kind of spreading the credit out, which makes it sound like I did nothing. And then, so you got to watch that too. So,
No, that's a great point. I actually love that. I mean, if I was interviewing a leader, I mean, somebody that said we, I would
mhm,
take that as a great positive. But I understand your point. There's a good book I had a mentor tell me, in my early career. It's called How to Toot Your Own Horn Without Blowing It.
yeah.
So way back, it's not comfortable. Even running this business, I didn't like doing LinkedIn posts. I don't like being out there. Like it's just like when I was, started in corporate America, I hated presenting in front of people. I knew to be successful, I'm gonna have to get over this fear, right? So if you're a candidate, the mob now obviously you don't want to be over the top. You can also come across as cocky. Nobody likes that, right? But you do have to, and that's a good book to read on feeling comfortable about, highlighting your strengths.
Mhm.
And it feels weird and awkward. I get it because I was that person, but I mean, you kind of got to say the same thing to yourself. If I want to be successful, I got to learn how to sell myself.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll say one other thing that I've seen multiple times in interviews is when people are pausing and you could just flat out tell they're Googling the answers. And if you're wearing glasses, I am telling you right now that when you flip over to that Google session, those glasses turn white and you could see it, So, and, we were on a technical interview and a guy was doing that. And finally was like, will you please stop Googling the answers? It's like, we know you're doing that. And so we actually, one of the other guys was Googling it at the same time and he was pretty much getting the same, responses and stuff off. So it was kind of comical. So don't do that. If you don't know the answer, just say you don't know the answer. You're not going to know everything,
Mark,
especially a
you're
technical
actually
one.
saying something that I'm so passionate about. Like, and I'm sure you've seen this as a leader. Like, as a leader, I appreciate it if somebody's like, I don't know, but I'm going to find out.
Right. Absolutely.
Within 5 seconds if they don't know the answer because they talk in circles. And that is way worse because you're not willing to admit you don't understand something, which in my mind, then you're going to blow something up in the future because you have too much pride, right? So that's a positive. But the other thing I want to talk about is Gartner, and we're seeing it right now. About 20% of the candidates we evaluate, our platform identifies them as suspicious. It's not a silver bullet, but they never go to our client. Gartner says by 2028, 1 in 4 candidates will be fraudulent.
Yeah.
So to
I
your
can believe it.
point, in Scout, we have a technology that if they leave the tab to go to another tab, it counts how many times they left the tab and also times it. We did
Hmm.
that somebody about 2 months ago. They said they were in San Francisco. The IP address showed they were in Nigeria. So we
Yeah.
have a ton of fraud built into the process because it's a real thing right now.
Yeah, and on the flip side, it's a real thing on the false job postings as well. I mean, Forbes had an article out there earlier this year, late last year, saying 20%. And, some of me and my peers, we've been talking, it's like, I think some of these are 40%. And then, just this weekend, I got uh, two false recruiters that was reaching out to me for positions and stuff. And it's like, gosh, it's like I don't understand, I understand they're trying to get, but it's like, why deal with that, And, on the employer side, why post that and waste that other than just to grab resumes for future? But if you're not doing it, why put the resources out there for it in the first place? Because now, as an applicant, I'm like, okay, why would I come working for this company? Because that's how they're doing things. Or, when they're taking months between rounds and that sort of stuff, it's like if they're not making decisions that quickly, that's a flag too. You have to kind of question, so there's so many different factors that's kind of happening right now. And there's so much fraud out there that it's just terrible. Like you talked about. I mean, it's just, it is bad. It really is bad. So,
Yeah, it's disgusting, and I see it in the staffing industry as well. I can assure you every one of our jobs are real and
mhm,
we're recruiting for them. There are some staffing companies and companies that will post jobs just to make themselves look bigger, but
mhm,
also collect resumes.
yeah,
And that's to me, it's absolutely disgusting because you're just wasting someone's time. I mean, think about that person. They're hopeful, they're applying for a job and
yeah,
it's fake.
yeah,
I just that will never happen with Covenant ever.
yeah, yeah, and that's great. And there's, uh, when you're looking at it and they're coming up and it's just, and I'm sure in the tech ones there's, even more, because of, like at an engineer level and stuff, but even at the executive levels, there's just so many of that you look at it and you go, "This has gotta be false," but then it's like, "Okay, I'm still gonna apply to it because
Maybe,
maybe it's not,"
right?
you know? But then, and it's like the 2 recruiters that reached out to me, I looked at their profiles and I was like, "Okay, they don't have a lot of followers, so there's red flag number 1," and they're overseas, and it's like, "Okay, it's Sunday, okay, they probably are working right now, it's probably their Monday." And it's like, okay, and so I'll just do a generic response back. But then once they start, start talking, then you kind of go, oh, I don't know. And then next thing you know, they're asking, do you have a WhatsApp or a Signal channel? It's like, nope, block, false, you guys.
Yeah,
And, but it's just so common. I mean, it's just terrible, so yeah. Enough on that. We know everything online is just terrible, right? You can't trust anything out that you see out there is posted out there. That's for sure.
very
So,
true.
Casey, what other great tips do you have for people that are looking for a job or for even employers that might be looking for a candidate?
I mean, I would say be ethical first, right? So don't be some of these people that are creating the perfect resume, even though like you mentioned, you used it one time, yet you're acting like you're an expert. That's
Mhm,
not going to help anybody. And trust me, it's going to be found and you're not going to get the job or you're not going to last. Right. So that's number one. But like I said before, I think if I was in a try, I was guilty of this. I did so much in my corporate career. I listened to a great podcast called Manager Tools, and they recommended once a quarter, sit down, block time, and record accomplishments. And I think that's something that you can do is just make sure even when you have a job, you're blocking time to make sure you don't forget about all the great things you did so
mhm,
then you can update your resume. So I would make sure you do that and then of course make sure your resume is updated. But then again, what I would say is because of the way I know scoring is happening right now, making sure you have a tailored resume for every job and using a tool that highlights using AI, which is way more context aware than keyword searching. It's way more powerful and just better. And
mhm,
using a tool that's able to understand how AI scores and then highlights, hey, here's what you're missing, but you have to say, yes, I have that or not. And a tool that makes it easy to do that because at the end of the day, you want to apply to as many jobs that make sense for you as possible. And if I had to do that manually, there's no way I could do it personally. You need something to help you do that.
yeah, great points. All right. Well, Casey, thank you very much for being a guest on the show. How could people get a hold of you and whether they're looking for, to post their own, a new job opening or, they're looking for a new opportunity out there?
Sure, sure. So just email me directly and I help a lot of candidates as well. So Casey CASEY dot Marquette MARQUETTE at COV dash technologies technologies.com or simply Google Covenant HR. Covenant HR. We should come up first and just the contact us form. Just let them know you want to talk to me or about your career or you have a job you'd like us to work. We are literally turning around talent in hours. and I could go into detail how we're doing that, but we have over 240,000 candidates in our curated talent network of cybersecurity. So because we specialize in that and post those jobs all day, every day, the candidates follow us. So we have absolutely zero problems finding great talent in literally hours.
Great. Great. Well, Casey, thank you again for all your wisdom and insights here. And thank you, everyone else, for listening to the Cyber Executive Podcast. And again, be sure to share and like, whatever podcast methods that you're listening to, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever. So thank you again, and everyone. Thanks again, Casey.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.